Welcome in, welcome in. It is another edition of Batting Cleanup. Alyssa Orange alongside Evan Camico. And as you can probably tell behind him, he is at the ballpark. Well, it kind of looks like a ballpark behind him. He is in Hoover. It is rainy today and gross. I didn't feel like doing my hair. Didn't feel like doing my makeup. I just kind of rolled into work today. It is beautiful right now in Hoover, knock on wood. But you guys are living the dream right now.
Yeah, we can't complain. Gorgeous weather yesterday, gorgeous weather again today. It's supposed to be great all week, and I know people around here, the rumblings are this isn't natural, like something wrong is going to happen. But I'll try to flip my camera really quickly, because I'm in the back of the media section, but it is beautiful here.
Yeah.
And I know you had quite a fun morning with a fun little kindergarten graduation.
How about it? Yeah, Finn had his kindergarten graduation today, which was really, really cute. And they do it for preschool, but this one they got to wear the little hats and walk across the stage, get his little, fake diploma, I guess, for graduating kindergarten. But super proud of my little man. It's been really cool to watch him as a mom when I dropped him off day one to kind of now, and he's a much more confident kid. He just kind of walks around the school like he owns the place, and it's been fun to watch him grow. So that was this morning, and now I'm ready for some baseball. This is your first time. I've been a handful of times, so I want your first impression of Hoover, of the tournament, how things are run down there.
So I'll start off with when Jacob and I were going to Birmingham. We don't know much about Birmingham and the area in general, and we were thinking it was a gross city in rural Alabama, kind of just farmland all around it, nothing. And we got here and we were genuinely shocked, and in a really good way, just about how awesome the area is. It reminds us very much of Fayetteville with the rolling hills and very green, and that's really the same with the stadium. We kind of had our expectations low, not thinking too much of it, and since we've been walking in, this place is awesome. It's really cool that they have it here every year, and for no local teams to play here at the Hoover Men, and it kind of just sits here for high school sports. That's also really cool. But it's been really fun. It's been awesome. Last night's game was incredible between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And just it's blown, I think, any of our expectations out of the water so far.
I feel like we have to tell our audience who is listening, you're from New Jersey and Jacob is from Indiana. And so truly your road trip for the last week through the South has been brand new. Going down to College Station, driving through Louisiana, driving through Mississippi, and now being Alabama. I mean, that are places you guys have only seen a couple times when we've traveled during football season. So very new for you guys.
Yeah, it's funny because I was saying to my parents the other day, I was like, yeah, we're checking off all these states, slowly kind of, I think we lingered into Oklahoma for a hot second, down to College Station, which haven't been before. That stadium was awesome, and the bubbles were very cool, in my opinion. And, just seeing the football stadium out the back, Kyle Field out the back of the outfield is awesome. And then, yeah, like you said, we kind of just mowing our way through the South, and it's really cool to get experiences like this and see places that, we would never see on a normal basis, being kids from New Jersey and Indiana. And like I was saying, with Baz earlier on the radio, they're like, "Oh, you're a Jersey guy making fun of the Italian side," and I'm like, "Guys, I'm not really Italian, but yeah, it's very cool. It's very different." So it's been an awesome road trip so far, and we're at this point we don't even know what day it is. So
right,
that's when I think you're having fun.
I think that one of the cool things with Hoover, very much like the College World Series in Omaha and the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City, is it's there every year. And we were having a conversation because some people think it should move around, but I like the fact that it's there every year because you can build tradition around it. And Omaha is a place where I would go if Arkansas or Florida State were not in it, just because it's a cool experience. And I feel like some people have made Hoover the same thing, that they might not be able to go see a baseball team that they root for on a normal basis, but you can make it to Hoover, Alabama. And that's what's really special about that ballpark.
And I love that you just said that, because baseball, people want to trash on baseball because it's slow, it's boring. And I say to people all the time, if you're going to a baseball game, the odds you're going to the game are slim and none unless you are a diehard fan. You're going to the stadium, you're going for an experience. What you experienced a couple of weeks ago at Citi Field, what I experienced at Wrigley. You go to baseball for the experience, for the atmosphere, for the people. You don't go necessarily for the game. Obviously, that's a caveat because there is a game to be played and you're going to watch baseball, but you're really there for the experience, and the experience here is awesome. Everyone's been super nice to us so far, and it's been really cool. So again, you go to these things for the experience. You don't necessarily go for the game. Obviously we're here for the game to cover, but as a fan, this experience is very similar, and I'll be curious if we do end up making it to Omaha in a couple of weeks, what that experience is like as well. But this experience so far has been awesome. And again, it's really cool. They got a bar across the street with live music that we tried to check out, but I don't think we got there in time. The games were too good yesterday, but overall, the experience here is awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really excited for you guys in this run. But let's look at it because this is what Arkansas's run looks like right now as I pull up the bracket for the SEC tournament. As we're recording this, LSU and Kentucky are currently in action. And LSU, correct me if I'm wrong, still up 2-0?
Yes, it is 2-0. Luke Holman is through five innings or so, and he has a no-hitter right now.
All right.
So that's where we are when filming this game.
Yes, and so Arkansas is the very next game. They're going to play South Carolina, a team that they played on the road and won that series on the road. But this is what's intriguing with me because you're not going to really face any of those other teams in the second half of that bracket until either Saturday or Sunday. And for Georgia, who got knocked out by LSU, and Kentucky, who won the SEC, co-champs with Tennessee, who could possibly get knocked out today by LSU. LSU is a scary team right now who is kind of one of those border teams. They've got a good RPI when it comes to what the NCAA tournament and that field will look like. But you win the SEC, you take an automatic bid. You take a bid away from someone, which, giving Courtney a hard time, I said it was going to be the Florida Gators. And depending, they lost to Vandy yesterday, so they've got nothing else.
People might be mad that we're ripping Courtney again on this podcast.
I don't care. We're not ripping her. I didn't rip her.
Well,
that's just the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth, and she knows it. And it's an RPI thing. So someone is going to steal a bid, and that someone could be LSU, and that makes things so interesting because for teams like Arkansas, Kentucky, Georgia, they're going to be in the NCAA tournament, but LSU could make some noise. And then think about it. LSU is about to be a 3 seed possibly at someone else's regional, and that's scary with the way that they're playing right now.
And that's something we talked about right before we hopped on, and Jacob and I have talked about it. You and Courtney have talked about it all separately, and it's like, this is an LSU team, and Jay Johnson said the other week, they're a top team in the Big Ten, and everyone kind of laughed at it. Or, excuse me, the Big Ten, the SEC. People are going to get really mad. I just made that mistake.
It's okay.
People don't like the SEC versus Big Ten slander that I like to do. Anyway, Jay Johnson said this is a top 10 team in the country, and everyone kind of laughed at that. And right now you're thinking, wow, they are shutting down a really good Kentucky offense. And Luke Holman's got 7 Ks already today. We haven't seen Kentucky strike out that much since Hagen Smith, and my horribly wrong take on that one. But this is an LSU team. You're right. They're going to be a 3 seed. They might win this whole tournament right now. They're super hot. And I think Mississippi State's kind of that other team that played on day one that has a chance to really run the table and win the whole thing. That game last night between them and Ole Miss was absolutely awesome. But this is an LSU team right now. If I'm Arkansas, I don't know if I want to face them in the second round, or, if they win and you lose today and you're Arkansas, you lose to South Carolina, you might as well just kind of lose again and get home. And that's the existential question that we're asking ourselves and that everybody asks is, do you want to go far in these tournaments, or do you want to lose 2, get home, get healthy, and rest up for next week? And, on one hand, DBH is like, well, we want to win a trophy. But on the other hand, it's like, we just want our guys to play clean baseball and get home safe and injury free. So, it's a catch-22, right? Like, you could be happy one way. Like, teams like Mississippi State and LSU need to go on runs in this tournament to make it in. South Carolina, also one of those teams. But then again, if you're Arkansas, you probably have a top 8 national seed all but locked up. It's only not official yet. So, do you really need to go far in this tournament? No, and that's the big question that you that's the overarching question why this is stress-free baseball this week.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is people say this tournament doesn't matter, but it does. It's going to matter for those teams like you mentioned, like an LSU or a Mississippi State, or even a Florida. So it'll be interesting how it all plays out. And I think that there's that argument where you lose 2, you go home and you rest. But then at the same time, momentum is key. And if you could win a couple games and then head into the regionals with some wins under your belt, that's going to feel a lot better. However, there are statistics that if you win the SEC tournament, you don't win a national championship. And the national champions out of the SEC the last couple of years were 1-5 in this tournament. So there are so many different variables where it's like, well, this makes sense, but the stats don't back it up.
Right.
But then there's this, but you want the rest, but you don't want to be losing all the time. And you know what I mean? Because if you lose 2, regardless of how you look at it, you've lost 3 of the last 4 games. And that's not what you want. But at the same time, you could rest a little bit. Such an interesting argument. And it's really kind of hard to pick a side because both sides make a lot of good points.
Yeah, and you even look back to that College Station series, and you knew you really only needed 1 game, and you knew you were going to get it game 1 or game 2. And unfortunately, Hagen Smith, Gabe Gackle threw great games. Christian Fouch also throw in there. But the Hogs didn't win game 1, and that's okay. And they won game 2. And game 3 at that point kind of became a throwaway game once it got out of hand. And, Texas A&M put up 6 runs against Arkansas in that 6th, 7th inning area. So again, you kind of look at it and it's like, well, you can do your job. You did your job already. You won the West. Now you're just kind of playing to get people going. That's the big message that DBH gave about this week. And some of these guys are going to need to get going if Arkansas wants to make a run to Omaha. You know, like you said on Hit the Line earlier today, and like we've kind of just been saying the last few weeks on batting cleanup.
Yeah, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, and I'm excited, like you mentioned. I mean, they asked me who needs to hit. It's like it's Kendall Diggs. The answer is Kendall Diggs. Get Kendall Diggs going again. I want to look at the bracket one more time because I just want to ask you before you move on that Ole Miss Mississippi State game last night. Incredible. Were you guys back at the hotel for that game for the walk off, or where were you?
We stayed till the 8th inning, and then we looked at each other. And well, the Pacer Celtics game was on. Jacob really wanted to watch that. His phone was dying, and we were tired. We've been at the ballpark all day, so we did have it on the TV when we got back to the hotel. So we're like, maybe we'll catch extra innings. Like we for some reason always find good games late at night. We wanted to watch Texas game. That's a story for another podcast. So we get back to the hotel. We turn it on, and Takorda Jordan steps up, and I'm like, all right, this is it. He's gonna hit the walk off here. He doesn't use check, comes up next and just hammers that ball. And we were like, oh my goodness, like that was awesome. And I have a couple friends who covered Mississippi State, and I was texting, I was like, wow, that was awesome. And it was just insane, such a cool game. And you get those at these tournaments like this. And luckily that game didn't run till 1 a.m.
Yeah, gosh, you guys are right. Weren't we just south of Memphis? We were in where were we when you guys were like, we didn't sleep? These are all these college football games. I think we were on our way to Tuscaloosa. And I was like, did you sleep? You're like, no, there was these games. And then we just kept walking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, guys. So that's what happens when you get you two together on a road trip. You just somehow magically make sporting events way too exciting to go to sleep on.
We are pros at that, and we love the Pac-12 After Dark. Unfortunately, that is not a thing anymore. So maybe it's like Big Ten West Coast edition or something.
I think that's more like it.
Keep an eye on that. But yeah, you're right. We find ways to make our trip fun and have a good time with it too. So.
All right, let's talk specifically about Arkansas because I'm sure some of our listeners are like, yo, we do not care about LSU or Mississippi State anymore, and we get it. So you had a conversation with Phil yesterday. We know we got Ben Bybee starting on the mound for the Razorbacks here in a few hours probably when this game ends. What are your big takeaways as you look ahead to this game?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting game, right? You see what Ben's done the last couple of weeks. He's only thrown short stretches, about two to three innings, give or take. I think his last outing was about 3 innings long, and he pitched pretty well at College Station. 3 hits, 3 runs. Again, that's an Ole Miss, an A&M lineup that was just buzzing on Sunday. They didn't want to lose 2 of 3. But one thing that Phil said that really caught my ear was Texas A&M's lost 3 games all season at home, and one of them was to Arkansas. People are mad that they're losing. Like, I think, again, Ben Bybee, probably the right pick to pitch today. We talked a little bit about Brady Tygart as well. Brady, it sounds like he's going to be used in relief today, so don't be surprised if you see Brady Tygart on the mound. But again, you want to save Hagan. Hagan's going to be on pitch count. Like we said, this tournament isn't a must-win. If this was a must-win, I think you'd see a lot more of Hagan Smith than you probably are going to. Mm-hmm. So I think it's smart that Ben's starting, but again, you kind of see it going both ways where he's gonna, it'll be a very big bullpen game. And again, it's kind of the same what looks like for South Carolina. They have a lot of their pitchers available, but their top end guys are not going to be starting today. I mean, Eli Jones is a 6 ERA, 3-4, but did pitch very well against Arkansas earlier in the season. So you can see it going both ways, obviously, and that's kind of the nature of tournament baseball. So I think it's probably smart saving your number 1, 2, 3 guys just for the weekend if you're really chasing it. But you got to get guys hot. Something we've already said. So that's kind of my case on it. I'm curious on looking like to get it started.
Yeah, Evan, I want to get your opinion on Will McIntyre because he hasn't had great outings the last couple of times, and that's a guy you got to get going too, who's an upperclassman in this bullpen. I would love to see him get a little bit more of his rhythm going. He does this. He turns it on in the postseason. It's what he's done. He's done it the past couple of years. I want to see him kind of do that in Hoover. If there's anyone else, we know what Hagan can do, right? And we got Mason. I think Mason finally found himself again when he came in relief at Texas A&M. Brady and Will are 2 guys that really, really need to have something go their way in Hoover, Alabama.
Yeah, and it's really tough just watching Will, who's so dominant at the beginning of the year. I remember listening to a buddy's podcast, and he was like, if I want one reliever in the SEC right now, it's Will McIntyre. Right now, if I want one reliever in the SEC right now, Will McIntyre is not even on my top 5. So that's kind of just the sad reality. But that's baseball, right? Like, you're going to have your peaks, and Will definitely peaked early in the season for a rough couple of weeks. But right now, you kind of have a clean slate. It's like what, we go back to Pat Murphy on Alabama softball talking to Alyssa Lang last 2 weeks ago at the SEC tournament. Everything you did in the regular season doesn't matter. This is a different kind of play. This is a different kind of thing. And I think Will McIntyre, I'd love to see him take that step forward and become Will McIntyre again. But you have to be realistic. And if he's not going to have a great outing over the next 2 days, what's his usage going to look like next week when you're not playing stress-free baseball? You're playing every single pitch matters. So you'd love to see Will get back on track, and it's tough to watch him struggle. And, just seeing his head down after that game 1 loss when he walked, the batter at Texas A&M, Ted Burton, after 1 strike and 4 straight balls. It's sad to watch. It's not fun for us who covers this team and has seen this guy at his highs and at his peaks. It's tough to watch, but that's the reality of the sport. It's not a fun sport. It's not an easy game like many people think.
Baseball is a game of failure. I think everybody knows that. It's why you love and hate the game at the same time. And kind of speaking of those lulls and ups and downs that baseball gives you offensively, 3 guys for me that just need to either get it going or stay a little bit more consistent. Obviously, Kendall Diggs is at the top of the list. I think Ryder Helfrich needs to get it going a little bit. And I just want to see a little bit more consistency from Peyton Stovall in that lineup. So if you had to pick 3 guys there, Evan, who would you go with?
Oh, that's really tough because I do love the list that you just threw
and you can use it. You don't have to not use it. That's just kind of the 3 that pop in my head.
I think you hit it on the head with 2. Kendall Diggs is obviously number 1. You got to get him going again. You saw him in that Kentucky series a couple of weeks ago. He was attacking, and he did the same. I was kind of questioning. There were some questions why he didn't start game 1 against Texas A&M. But obviously, when they lost, he was going to start game 2. I think he should have played in all 3 games, whether that's DH or in the outfield. But Kendall Diggs would be number 1. I think Peyton Holt's my number 2. He's been struggling as of late. I don't hate the Peyton Stovall pick there, but I'll go Holt just because, again, he hasn't been hitting super great lately, and it's been a lot of swings and misses and some frustration at the plate. And my number 3, and I thought Ryder had a pretty good weekend last week at Texas A&M, had a couple infield singles, and that gets him going, and had some good singles to the outfield. My number 3 is I want to see consistency out of Ty Wilmsmeyer. Yeah. This team is at its best when Ty is hitting the ball up the middle like he did a couple of times last weekend.
So fast.
But defensively, they need him in center field because if you can go Peyton Holt in left field, because again, Bill Edmondson and Ross Lovich haven't really done the job this year winning that spot, and that's why Peyton Holt's just been like, all right, like I'll play outfield, and you're seeing he's going to start in left field today, Diggs in right, and I'd like to see Wilmsmeyer in center because that defensive plus that he gives you with his glove and his arm is too good not to have.
Yeah.
And again, he was the 300 hitter last year in SEC play. So the question is, where did that decline go? And we're looking around and it's like, if you can get him going at the bottom of the order, whether that's bunting him on base or, these solid, line drive singles up the middle, you're happy with that out of your 9-hitter to get speed on the base for Fahima Loy, Hudson White, Ben McLaughlin, and Peyton Stovall to come up with the top. And I'll add an honorable mention. I know you didn't ask for it. Jared Sprague-Lott. I'd like to see him get going a little bit better with the bat. I think, again, he had a good weekend like Ryder, but you want just a little bit more out of him. But again, this is a guy who's battle tested, been on arguably one of the biggest stages in baseball already. So I think he'll get it going. That's my honorable mention right there. Sorry.
I like it. No, I appreciate it. I also think it's a fantastic answer. All right. So my question of the day for you, or the week specifically. So what do you think Hudson White has been hitting the last 6 games? I'll give it to you. Right now, his batting average is 288. Over the last 6 games, what do you think his batting average is?
So his batting average before the last 6 games is somewhere in the 2.3s. I know that. I'm pretty positive on that. It's got to be hitting he's got 5 home runs in 7 games, I think is his number. 5 home runs in 6, something like that. So whatever he's doing, he needs to keep doing it because it is clearly working. But I'll say Hudson's probably hitting 470, 480 in his last couple of games. I think he's hitting that high of a clip. I know, crazy enough, I think I was looking at it, and he's now, I think, leading the team in batting average in the SEC play right now, which is also wild. After struggling for the first couple of weeks. Don't quote me on that second stat, but I like that 460, 470 range for Hudson White now.
I'm very impressed. This is why I know that you know baseball, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I asked the question to the room yesterday. So the answer is he is 11 for 22, and I don't need a calculator to know that is 500. He is batting 500 right now in the last 6 games. He has 4 home runs, and what's crazy is he went into that series with Mississippi State with just 2 home runs. He now has 6. So he's hit 4 home runs in the last 6 games, batting .500, and that's exactly what you want to see from your catcher. But if a guy like that can kind of turn things around, it makes you feel good about some of the other guys too. I'm going to check your math because I think you're right. You're right. He's now batting .330 in SEC play, which has gone over Peyton Stovall, who is batting .315.
Yeah, and to your point too with Hudson White, like if you can have like Akiva Lloyd, man, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
whatever he's done, he needs like it's been that adjustment period.
Yeah.
We questioned him early on because we had to. That our job is to overreact, but if you can have, like I've said, Stovall hit 2. He gets going. I'd love to see Hudson White hit 3 today, man. That would be a lot of fun. Akiva Lloyd 4, McLaughlin 5, and like Holt 6 or Jake 6.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that, and maybe Holt lead off. You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to see that order for them because I think that's where they're most effective. But if you could get 3, 4, 5 going with White, Stovall, and Lloyd, oh man, this team might be playing for a very long time into June.
Yeah, I told the room yesterday, I was like, whatever Hudson White is doing, he just needs to like rub his hands together and then just like go over to Kendall Diggs and just go like this. And then go over, to Jared Sprague-Lott and just go like this. And just whatever he's doing right now with these hands, just, send it around to the rest of his team.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs that. And, if he can send some good vibes our way, too, we'll take those any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Arkansas and South Carolina going to be a good one. Again, 30 minutes after this LSU-Kentucky game wraps up here shortly from the Hoover Met. I wish you nothing but good weather. Hopefully you have no rain
Fingers
delays,
crossed.
which is a SEC tournament staple.
Hopefully
wood.
we don't sweat too bad too, because I don't know if we want to spend
Sweat-
another hour at a laundromat
Sweat
again.
is better than rain. You guys are going to be
That's
fine.
true.
Sweat is better
That's
than
true.
rain. So
Otherwise, I'll have to break out my new rain jacket.
no, that is not allowed. That is not allowed.
Oh,
Nobody wants to hear that.
And
story. No.
No.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Let me try.
Maybe one day we can talk about
year,
your
season-
really,
season
really
2 of
poor
batting cleanup.
money spending decisions. But until then, that is batting cleanup. Thank you so much for joining us. Evan is having a great time. Hey, get some ice cream, by the way, okay?
Oh, already have.
Great. Get some
I
ice
had some
cream
ice
for
cream
me
sandwiches
then.
last night. I'll make sure to.
All right,
I'll
guys.
send you some
Thanks so much. Pictures. Great. Pictures of ice cream and public subs. Great. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, Jacob. We didn't even talk about that on the podcast, but we're out of time. So pub subs.
We are out of time.
Can't believe
There's a
they're here in
Buc-ee's.
Alabama.
There's a Buc-ee's around you also somewhere.
We already went to the Buc-ee's.
I expect something upon your return to Fayetteville. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.